What is it actually like working your way up within the Red Sox organization? You're about to find out on today's Locked On Red Sox.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby, former ESPN social media associate, and also currently the host of the Boston Balling podcast. And I am here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox, Monday through Friday, wherever you listen to podcasts. And the best part, it's free, so you might as well check it out every day. I am here during the season, during the off season. It does not matter. Here to talk all things Red Sox with you, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers join today and you'll get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Welcome to another episode of the show. I actually have a very exciting guest with me on today. This is somebody who has worked his way really through this career that is baseball and is currently pitching in the Red Sox organization. And we're going to hear a lot today about his story and his baseball journey and really what got him to where he is today. So Nate Tellier, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. I know it's definitely always interesting for me to kind of follow some of the guys that are in the system and really hear more about their baseball journey, how they got started and how they kind of ended up where they are today. So the first question that I kind of wanted to ask was growing up for you, kind of getting into the world of baseball, who were some of the players that you kind of primarily looked up to that you enjoyed watching at the professional level?
Mine was Dustin Pedroia. He was always the undersized second baseman that just always put everything out there. So I was a shortstop growing up all the way until college. So I definitely looked up to him.
Yeah, he's definitely a great one. It's really hard, even if you were not a Red Sox fan, to dislike Dustin Pedroia. Yeah. He just played the game the right way and was just a really good role model for the sport, really.
Oh, 100%. Like the way he plays, the way he treated his teammates, his interaction with Big Papi, like all of that just made me love him and love watching him play. I never got to meet him yet, but I would love to meet him one day.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm sure he'd be a great person to, talk with and converse with and kind of get advice from as to how he became such a successful baseball player. I'm sure that would be pretty cool. But that's a great choice. I also loved watching him play. And I'm still upset about the way his career ended. Definitely an unfortunate situation for him, but he'll always be a Red Sox favorite. Did you grow up a Red Sox fan?
Yeah, I grew up in Massachusetts, grew up in Attleboro, Massachusetts, so I was always a Red Sox fan. Me and my grandfather watched the games all the time, so yeah, through and through.
Probably a dream for you then to be part of the organization then that you always rooted for growing up.
Oh yeah, 100%. I was close to signing with the Yankees, and the Red Sox came in and offered, and I couldn't pass that up.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's tough. If you ended up on the rival team, but especially because of just how historic of a franchise Boston really is, and how big of a stage it truly could be, once you make it to that level, pitching at a place like Fenway Park that's so historic and being surrounded by a fan base that's so passionate about it. I mean, it's a great place for you to be.
100%. We got the best fans in the world.
Yeah, we definitely try. We're very passionate about the team. So, but yeah, no, that's great. When you were growing up, obviously you probably got experience with a lot of different positions around the game. So when was it that you really honed in on pitching and realized that was something that you wanted to pursue?
So I wasn't a big fan of pitching growing up. I was a shortstop, and then out of high school, they offered me to. I got D1 offers to go pitch, but I didn't like pitching, so I wanted to go be a position player. So I ended up being a D3 center fielder. And then my junior year summer, my coach was like, "Hey, like get off the mound. You got a good arm. You got a chance at this." So after COVID, my senior year summer, I ended up being in a scout game for the Yankees playing the Red Sox, and I hit 98 in front of them, and that's when the Red Sox signed me. And then that right there is when I converted full time pitching. So I really didn't know how to pitch for the first couple of years of pro ball, and I was learning that. So it wasn't until probably my senior year of college when I committed full time to pitching.
Yeah, that's always interesting hearing the way people transition from one position to another, because I do find that a lot of times the position that a player ends up actually playing when they're at the professional level is completely different from what they ever thought they were going to play. So it's always interesting to hear those types of stories about how people make that transition.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that when they convert infielders or outfielders to catchers, like Buster Posey or my boy Daniel McElvany, who's one of our prospects. He was an infielder, and then after he signed, he's like, "Yeah, you're going to be a catcher." That has to be so hard because catching is
Oh
the
yeah.
hardest position in sports. So just converting to a catcher after never catching. Yeah,
Yeah, that'd be terrifying. I feel like there's so much that a catcher is relied on for in a game.
yeah. It's you got to be a wall back there and just getting thrown into the fire with professional pitching. I don't know how they do it.
Yeah, right. I really don't know either. But even being a pitcher, comes with a lot of pressure game to game, lots of eyes on you as the pitcher. And a lot of times if something goes wrong, a lot of people look at the pitcher and
Hmm.
say, this pitcher blew this lead or, blew this game for us. So as a pitcher, how do you kind of handle that pressure when it comes to those game to game situations of knowing, there's a lot of pressure on me right now to finish this game, especially if you're coming in a high stakes situation where, maybe the team's only up by a run and you need to come in and try to conserve that lead.
We have a great mental skills staff at the Sox. They teach us that just look pitch to pitch. You're not looking in the past. You're not looking forward. Just try to look at this next pitch and don't put too much pressure on it. And if you look at the broad view of it, it'll very much lessen the amount of pressure it seems is going to be in that outing. So, yeah, our mental skills coach definitely comes up with different meditative processes and mental processes to deal with pitching in high pressure situations.
Yeah, that could be scary, I'm sure, especially when it's, a high stakes situation like that. And I a lot of times do notice too, like when I'm watching a game, a pitcher's pace is a lot different if there's
Hmm.
traffic on the bases as opposed to if there's not. So it's kind of they're making that adjustment based on if they have guys on base, and then if the bases are empty, they're just doing things a lot differently.
Yeah, yeah, it's 2020 hindsight. After an outing, you could be like, "Oh, I was rushing too much. I was pulling off or whatever." So the biggest thing in pro ball is just making the adjustment pitch to pitch instead of making it after an outing. So that was the biggest thing they taught us so far. Is just pitch to pitch. What I do wrong in that pitch, I might have pulled. I make the adjustment on the fly instead of, "Oh, that was a terrible outing. Like, I got to make an adjustment next outing." You know.
Yeah, no, and that's part of the learning process. And I feel like that kind of applies to really anything that people do. Like you're going to make mistakes and you're going to figure out how to learn from those mistakes. And I feel like for what you do, it's really important to learn from those mistakes if you want to continue to work your way up and, prove yourself within this space that is competitive baseball.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, so speaking more to that of, just bouncing back and having to deal with those high pressure situations, mentally, how do you bounce back your next outing if you do have a bad outing the time before that and you're, thinking about it and you maybe, blew a lead or blew a game for the team? And I feel like it's especially hard for starting pitchers because they only pitch every 5 days or so. So they have to like sit on that loss. Whereas if you're a reliever, you pitch more often a lot of times, like in back-to-back games sometimes. So you can make up for that pretty quickly. But mentally, how do you kind of refocus yourself for the next outing if that happens?
Leave it at the field. So after an outing, you can be as pissed as you want, go in the locker room and be as mad as you want. But as soon as you leave, then that's it. The game's over. It's in the past. And the next day, you got to reset your mind. You can't linger on it, because the more you linger on it, the more you put more pressure on your next outing, and then it'll spiral. So, yeah, just leave it at the field.
Yeah, because the more you dwell on things like that, the more it's just going to impact your next outing after that, and then maybe the one after that. And I feel like it just takes a lot of mental toughness to play this sport. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, I think it's so important for players to be able to rebalance themselves and refocus. And coming up, I'm going to be talking a little bit more about, what the spring training structure looks like, how that kind of helps you prepare. But just a quick word here from our sponsor at Factor Meals. Eating better is easy with Factor's delicious, ready to eat meals. Every fresh, never frozen meal is chef crafted, dietitian approved, and ready to go in just 2 minutes. You'll have over 35 different options to choose from every week, including Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. Also, there are more than 60 add ons to help you stay fueled up and feeling good all day long. It's awesome if you get lazy and don't feel like cooking all the time, which, to be quite honest, is me a lot. So, this great way to just feel like you're still getting balanced meals, but they're really quick to prepare. Head to factormeals.com/LockedOnMLB50 and use code LockedOnMLB50 to get 50% off. That's code LockedOnMLB50 at factormeals.com/LockedOnMLB50 to get 50% off. And I promise you that 50% off definitely will be beneficial considering how expensive groceries are these days too. So you definitely won't be disappointed in that. And you also should check out Locked On Sports Today and subscribe to that on YouTube, or find it on Amazon Fire TV, as it's a national sports 24/7 streaming channel that we as a network have launched to keep you caught up in all things going on in sports at all times. So head to that today as well. Welcome back to the show. I am here with Red Sox prospect Nate Tellier, and he's telling me a little bit about his baseball journey, his experience, some of the hardships that it takes to really make it as a pitcher at the professional level. And one question I definitely had for you is about spring training. Like, what does the structure look like during spring training? Because I know, we don't always see everything like on our TVs. I'm watching the game and there's players that are getting into the lineup that day. Certain players are pitching, other players are not. Like, how often are they really, rotating you into spring training games?
So we're on a 3-day schedule this year. So it's a recovery, a moderate, and a high day. There's a group of us that have been backing up major league games. So if we'll be in the bullpen, and if one of the major league guys get in trouble, then we'll go in and clean up the inning. But besides that, we'll have games on the backfield. Usually do live BP on your high day, or do an inner squad. I think our minor league games start next week. But then after you pitch, you have a low day, which is just you go to the field, you throw a little bit. Moderate day, you go out to like 120 feet, we'll run, and then you're back on your high day where you pitch and then lift and sprint. So this year's a little different. In the past, we've done, I think, every other day, but this year's every 3 days. They're making a point on recovery this year to avoid injury and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a long season, and there's a lot of, opportunity where injuries may arise. So this is definitely an important time where you don't want to overwork your arm, and make sure that, you're good to go when the season actually starts.
Yeah, minor league's got 142 games after this, so definitely a long season.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely not a short season at all. And that's the other thing too that kind of leads into my next question is obviously, you have a specific training regimen during spring training, like you just talked about, the structure and all of that. But how do you kind of make sure that you're maintaining, that arm strength and being ready to go during that time in between when the season ends and when you actually head down to spring training? Like, what do you do during that in between time? Is it resting all the way through, or do you kind of do your own routine to kind of maintain your arm strength?
So I usually like taking 2 to 4 weeks off after the season, like not touching a baseball, letting your body recover, eating right, hydrating right, just letting all the muscles recover. And then this season, I spent the off season in Tampa with my trainer Theo Asen out of OAK. Um, he got my body right. We worked on mobility, worked on making sure all the little muscles would protect all my joints and to prevent injury this season. And then the Sox put me on a velo program, so I've been long tossing and stuff since probably November, just to get my arm ready for spring training. And then yeah, it was just lifting and throwing. And then sometimes people do odd jobs in the off season, like I sell Christmas trees when I'm back home, just for a little extra cash. But yeah, it's very much focus on getting your body right, focus on advancing your game, because once spring training starts and season starts, you don't have as much time because you have to perform and make sure your body is tip top that day. So there's a lot of restrictions on lifting during season. So off season, you definitely lift heavy, throw heavy, just getting your body strong enough to start the season and last through the season.
Yeah, because I've always wondered that because you go from pitching so often and the rigor of, during the season and pitching at that level to then just completely doing nothing for a little bit. And it's like, oh, that must be interesting for their bodies because their arms are so used to the constant,
Hmm.
pitching in competition and just what it entails during the season to then all of a sudden be like, all right, we're not going to do anything right now. So I've always thought that was like interesting for a pitcher.
It's more like a mental toll. Like 2 weeks into not doing anything, like, all right, I need to do something. Like I feel like a bum. I haven't done anything. So, but
Yeah, like
and
I
that's all.
need to structure that like I'm
Yeah,
used to.
yeah. It's all the baseball players be like, yeah, I'm definitely taking a month off. And then 2 weeks into it, I'm like, all right, I'm bored. Let's go back to
Yeah,
work.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, right. And especially because you're doing something that you've been like dreaming of doing for so long that it's like, yeah, like I just want to get back to it. I want
yeah,
to continue to showcase my skills and show what I can do.
yeah.
Obviously, baseball's an interesting sport in that there are a lot of different levels before getting up to the majors. It's just, different setup from other professional sports in that manner. It just takes a lot of different levels and a lot of different, lengths of time before you really get up to the majors. So, when you're thinking about like how many levels there actually are to being up to where you want to be at the major league level, like how do you approach that on a day by day basis, thinking like, okay, I have, this much more in before I actually make it up to that level.
I was just talking to Wheels, who was our bullpen coach in AAA last year. It's just no matter what level you're at, you always have that much to work on. Everyone has that much to work on. So it really put into perspective whatever level you're at, treat it. There's two levels. There's minor league and major league. No matter what level you're at in the minor leagues, you'll always have that much to work on until you're ready to go at the bigs. Um, so it really puts in this perspective. Like, don't look at long term. Just look at what you need to do next to get to better your game, to better your game. If you're in low A and you look at all the levels you need to go through, it looks like a long process. But if you just break it down into improving your game, all the pieces will fall where they need to fall.
Yeah, because I feel like if you think too much about that, it can be overwhelming. Like, oh my gosh, like there's so much more that I have to do and navigate through. Whereas if you're thinking about it more as like, okay, what can I do to get better every day? Then naturally over time, that's just going to come.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I don't know, how much opportunity you really get to interact with some of the guys who are already at the major league level during spring training. Like, I don't know what that interaction looks like really. But have you had any chances this spring to be able to interact with some of the pitchers who are actively pitching for Boston at the major league level?
Yeah. I talked to Chris Murphy, Brandon Walter, um, a couple of guys that we picked up, Jorge Benitez, Hangeman, just um, just in passing, and like want to get there, picking their brains on what they do to stay at that level. And Luis Guerrero is one of my best friends, so um, yeah, just he hopped up through the system real quick, and he was telling me that he needs to focus more on strikes. He has the major league stuff, but he just needs to be in the zone more. But yeah, just talking to all of them, they all got little things they need to work on. And no matter what, like even at the big league level, they're like, yeah, no, I need to improve this. I need to do this. Um, so yeah,
Yeah, there's always
it's
room
just a
for
little thing.
improvement.
Always, yeah. I think Roger Clemens said it. He's like, the day I stop learning in baseball is the day I retire. Like he's a Hall of Famer, and every day he was still trying to improve his game.
You have to. Yeah, you really have to. Because, like you said, even once you're at the majors, there are so many other things that you can achieve once you get there. And in order to achieve those things, you just have to constantly be thinking about what can I do to improve my game and
Hmm.
stay in that mindset. Is there a specific, piece of advice that you've gotten from some of these guys who have already navigated their way through and worked their way up that you feel like you can take with you as you continue to work your way through the system?
Throw the nasty stuff in the zone. That's what they preach. That's everyone in the organization has unreal stuff, and he's just throwing it over the plate. The more you throw over the plate, the more the hitter makes a mistake and all that. So just throw your nasty stuff in the zone.
Yeah, that's good advice. And it's definitely good to get that perspective from guys who are actively doing it and had to go through all of this and were right where you are at one point too, and they can relate to being
Yeah.
in your position. So they
Hmm.
understand that process of really, growing their game and working their way up to that level.
Yep.
Um, yeah, and obviously the Red Sox, we mentioned this a little bit earlier, just being just such a good organization to be a part of, like just a lot of really talented players and historically great players who have come through the Boston Red Sox system. What would you say is your favorite aspect of being in the Boston Red Sox organization?
Just the quality of guys that you go through the ringer with. There's really not one guy who's full of himself. Everyone's a stand-up guy. Everyone's there for each other. Everyone knows that we're always all there to compete against each other, but everyone's trying to help each other because all in all, we're there to win a championship through and through. So it's just the quality of guys, quality of staff. The staff will die for you. It's just stand-up organization all around.
Yeah, it really is. That makes me happy to hear that you enjoy your experience being in the Boston Red Sox organization, and you're just surrounded by so much talent, and so many guys who are hungry and want to win. And that's what I love about being a Red Sox fan. Like these guys go out there every day and they just want to win.
Yeah, yeah. That's definitely the number one thing you take away from it is that the whole organization just wants to win, no matter what happens.
Yeah, I love that. And yeah, I do have a couple more, closing questions for you, right when we come back. But Amazon Fire TV, I did talk about it briefly earlier, but it's a great streaming channel. You can pretty much watch really whatever you want, live TV. You can stream things. You can really get to a lot of different apps or use it like a smart TV and be able to access lots of different things, especially this time of year with March Madness coming up and opening day right around the corner. If you want to watch a lot of different sports at once, it'll give you the option to do that as well. So it truly is your number one sports destination. And Fire TV recently created a Fire TV channels section to basically deliver a constant supply of videos from all of your favorite sports brands for free. So that includes all of us at Locked On and most of the big pro leagues and college conferences as well. So Fire TV channels will dive you into all game analysis, highlights, and more so you can keep up to date on everything going on in sports. So check out Amazon Fire TV, the Fire TV channels app on there, and you really should it won't disappoint you. And also Locked On Sports Today is on there as well, which is our national sports 24/7 streaming channel that you can also access on YouTube. So you won't be disappointed about any of that. Lots of sports coverage for you if you check these things out. I'm here with Red Sox prospect Nate Tellier, and we've had a great conversation here about his career being part of the Red Sox organization. I do have a couple more questions for you. The first one involving a pitcher that really only started in the majors a couple of years ago with the Red Sox when he got his opportunity, and over the last couple seasons, he really has just proven himself to be very talented and have a ton of potential. And the Red Sox just extended him, Brayan Bello, and I've been on Team Bello for a while now. I've talked about how I feel like he will eventually be an ace for the Red Sox pitching staff. I just think he's so talented and he has the work ethic to be able to succeed. So for somebody like you, hearing that news that he just earned that payday from the Boston Red Sox, like, does that make you excited for your future being a part of this organization and knowing like, okay, if I put in the work and I get there, like that could be me one day?
Yeah. We were just talking about that, I think last year, how Bello was at high A a couple years ago, and now he signed an extension with the Red Sox. It definitely seeing people to make it through the system and become stars in the big leagues like that. It's definitely comforting, and we love to see it.
Yeah, I feel like it's fun, watching him pitch too, and he's somebody who you could, continue to watch and learn from and be able to take some things away from his game because you mentioned it. I mean, he works through the system quickly as well, and now he's, sitting here and is the best starting pitcher the Red Sox have on the staff right now, and I'm just super excited for, his future with this team. And since I had you coming on the show, I was like, oh, this is a perfect time to talk about Bello because that's big news for the Red Sox organization. And it just shows that if you put the work in, they will value you being there.
Yeah. And when you sign big contracts like that with the Sox, we have a whole picture of Rafi in the locker room just when he signed his extension, when he signed his deal. It's awesome. It is big news when it comes to that, and the Red Sox love their franchise players, and it's just they'll treat you like kings here.
Yeah, Devers another one. I mean, I was so pumped when they extended him. I was like, he is such a superstar talent that we cannot let go and go anywhere else. He needs to be in a Red Sox uniform for life. So that's got to be encouraging for you too, to continue to give that effort and work hard because, one day that could be you too.
Yeah, that is the end goal.
Yeah. And finally, what piece of advice would you give to younger kids who are aspiring to play the game? Because my fiance coaches baseball at the high school level. He coaches for like a travel program for kids who are elite baseball players, like all trying to get recruited to play in college and then maybe eventually get to where you're at. So what advice would you give to kids like that?
Play as many positions as possible. Just get yourself athletic and just be very pliable to coaches. Just when I was in high school, I was a shortstop, and then college, I was a center fielder, and then now professional pitchers. Just whatever will get you to play the game longer. Just do whatever gets you on the field and have fun while doing it.
Yeah, that's definitely great advice because I know sometimes with these kids, they're at that level now where they're like, I have so many goals and so many things I want to achieve. And right now they're just trying to play the best baseball they can, get noticed and like, be impressing some of these scouts who are looking at them so that they can get that opportunity. So it's really important for them now to really learn as much as they can and just gain that experience in every way possible.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, this was an absolute pleasure having you on the show with me. I definitely appreciate you taking the time, giving me all of this information for somebody who just loves the Boston Red Sox and just loves watching players grow. And it's just so much fun, following these prospects in the system and, seeing their strengths and seeing how they can eventually contribute at the major league level. So it'll be exciting to, see you pitching at Fenway very soon.
Thank you. I had a blast. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thank you so much. And as always, everybody, thanks for tuning into the show. Go Red Sox, as always, and I will catch you next time.